A very good morning to one and all present here. On behalf of the ManageEngine team, I welcome you to today's OpManager training series. The agenda for the day: first, we'll see the various ways of discovering devices into OpManager and the options which are available, followed by agent monitoring, where we'll see how to deploy agents for real-time monitoring using the solution. And also, we'll see how we can discover the interfaces in OpManager with various different filters to meet our custom requirement to monitor the exact interfaces with the required parameters, followed by virtual discovery. In the real-time environment, majority of the devices are virtual machines where OpManager gives you an extensive discovery and monitoring solution for virtual-based environment in your live market. And now we're going to see about user management. As soon as you install the product in your environment and you start configuring it, the first and foremost thing is the user management. Who can access your Op Manager? How can they access it? What are the various privileges and roles and actions which this particular user can perform inside Op Manager? So prior to discovering or adding the devices, this is going to be the first thing: a user login to the Op Manager. Inside Op Manager, we do have two different and two default roles which are called as administrator and operator privileged users. And here you have a custom option where you can create your own roles with module specific for a better control of the Op Manager with designated rights and privileges. And here in Op Manager, we support AD authentication and pass through along with radius server authentication for accessing the Op Manager. So now let me quickly take you to the Op Manager UI to show you on how the user management and the login credentials are going to work. So as you can see, as soon as you log into the Op Manager, the first page which you see is the dashboard, which is going to give you the pictorial representation of all the information which you're monitoring and managing using Op Manager. So when we talk about user management and the various ways on how you can create users with various different roles are as follows. So you have to go to settings, general settings. By default, you'll be having the default administrative account, which is a super user, which will have complete access to the entire Op Manager. And as we have discussed, you can customize the roles apart from the admin and operator role, where you can create the specific role with the designated rights. For example, you have a SQL admin and a junior who's there in the SQL team. So here, these two people require different rights to monitor the Op Manager and the devices in their environment. So in those cases, what you can do is you can give discovery rights for the senior developer or the senior SQL admin who's there in your environment, and then give operator privilege with specific accesses, for example editing threshold, or let's say configuring maps in them. So you can create your own roles with designated privileges so that you can assign it to specific groups or specific peoples in your organization with the designated access, instead of having a complete access to the product or just read only. So you can customize it, and this option is very much available in Op Manager, where you can completely customize the role based accesses for the users who log into the Op Manager. So now let's go back to the Op Manager and continue. So now we have designated users with the desired privileges. So now we are going to see the various options which are available in terms of discovery. So when we talk about discovery, Op Manager provides you an automated discovery mechanism which is going to initiate immediately as soon as you install the Op Manager in your environment. And this discovery is going to scan your local subnet using an Nmap discovery process to get the local devices with the subnet through to on which the Op Manager is installed, and add the devices with the specific criteria. But there will be no credentials where you have to fill in the credentials to get the performance metrics is being monitored automatically. And the second discovery option which is available is called as manual discovery. By the name itself, you'll be able to understand that this discovery is a manual process where we are going to enter the details and start the discovery and perform adding devices to the Op Manager inventory from our environment. So when we talk about manual discovery, we are going to see the various options which are available within Op Manager in terms of adding devices from your environment to this network monitoring solution. So in Op Manager, you do have various different ways of adding devices, starting from IP range. You can add it based on subnet. You can import it from your Active Directory directly, or you can import them using a CSV file as well. And these are a fast addition method which helps you speed up the discovery process pretty easily. And also you will have a flexibility to schedule these automatic scans for new devices. Instead of adding a device, or when you have a dynamic environment, once you schedule it, let's say scan this particular IP range or import the devices from my AD, you can schedule it to happen every week or every month, so that Op Manager will automatically scan your environment and add these devices pretty easily. And also, within the inventory, you would be having an inventory and an audit based report to get details on when and what devices were added at what particular time by which particular user. And also, Op Manager provides you a much more higher hand and a flexibility where you will get an approve and ignore mechanism, which is going to give you the flexibility of managing or monitoring the devices which are only required to be monitored, instead of monitoring each and every equipment in our environment. And also this approve devices can be needed, and also you can ignore certain devices which you can re-add them later on if it's needed. And also these ignored devices will not be shown or not be scanned in the next discovery which is going to happen in the future. So now let me quickly take you to the Op Manager directly, and let's discuss in detail about the various discovery options which are there in Op Manager. As you can see under the setting, we have a wide range of discovery options, starting from network discovery to virtual discovery, Nutanix, which we are going to see in detail in the upcoming slides. So let's talk about the first foremost discovery option, which is called as the network discovery. When we talk about network discovery within Op Manager, we can have various ways where you can add them based on the IP range or subnets, or you can directly import them from your Active Directory, or you can easily import the devices if you have a CSV file. For example, let's say I want to perform a discovery based on the CSV file where I have the list of devices which are there in my environment. So in those cases, let's say I want to have a sample file. All you have to do is just click on this hyperlink which tells sample file, and that's going to immediately show you a sample CSV file with the basic need required information, which is going to show you the device name, display name, and the device type. So with this basic information and the credentials, you'll be able to easily add the devices on bulk to the Op Manager pretty easily. And likewise, for the discovery, the next important thing is the credential. So using credentials or protocols, we are going to monitor the devices with or for various parameters, starting from performances or performance based matrices, or let's say interface based metrics, is bandwidth, each and every, name it. If you name any metric which you want to monitor, these protocols are going to do the trick to monitor all these parameters in your devices based on your exact requirement. So in Op Manager, you have a wide range of protocols which we support for monitoring devices, starting from SNMP to WMI or CLI, or even Nutanix based credentials or storage based credentials and protocols which are used for the specific vendors and their type which are supported. So based on your exact requirement, you need to create the credential library so that you would be able to use these credentials moving forward in your discovery option. So you have to have your credential library configured first. So once you have your credentials ready, the protocols which you're going to use for the specific devices in your environment, let's say your domain account, an SNMP credential, which is common, or a root credential, whichever is required, or if you have a vCenter, you need a VMware credential. So you need to have all these credentials ready so that you can use these credentials for the discovery option pretty easily. So when we talk about the discovery itself, as we have seen, we can enter an IP range or multiple IP ranges and scan them. So once you initiate the scan by giving a name and after choosing the respective credentials, automatically Op Manager will scan the entire network and show you the various devices which are there in that particular IP range or CSV file which you have tried to import the devices. So you'll have all these devices pretty easily in a detailed manner. So all you have to do is select the desired devices which you want to monitor and approve them. Or if you want to add all, I know that these are legitimate devices, I want to monitor everything, you can just select them and click on approve. Or let's say I don't want to monitor these unknown devices in my environment, I don't want them. So in those cases, you can simply click on ignore. Once you do that, these 62 devices will never be monitored inside the Op Manager moving forward. And likewise, in case if you want to remanage these devices which were moved to ignore devices, yes, you can do that. All you have to do is you have to go to the ignore device tab and remove them from this particular list so that these devices can be added moving forward. And also, after your discovery, if you haven't approved any device for the monitoring, that will be listed in your unapproved device tab as well. And the discovery rule is a special feature which is there in Op Manager, which allows you to automate the processes which you perform during the discovery itself instead of doing it later on after performing the discovery where we want to do specific tasks. And we are going to see in detail about the discovery rule in our upcoming slides where we will be discussing the smart discovery option. And likewise, you will have a detailed discovery report which is going to give you what has happened at what particular time, which user has triggered it in which particular time zone, what devices were added, and also you can get these scheduled reports or scheduled discoveries to be sent as an email report as well. So this is going to help you understand how the discovery has happened at what particular time and what devices were added and what were the changes which has happened in the Op Manager and the devices which have started monitoring inside Op Manager from your environment based on the exact requirement which you have. So these are the various discovery options in terms of network discovery when you want to add a device based on a subnet, or when you want to perform a bulk discovery using a subnet or your Active Directory or a CSV file, which makes life easier in terms of deploying the Op Manager in our environment instead of going through lots of documentations or doing lots of prerequisites. All we have to do is just get the credential library ready, fill in the IP range, start the discovery, and we are done. So it makes things pretty easy for us to add and start monitoring the devices in a pretty ready-made status. So now let's go back to the presentation and continue. The next topic which we are going to see is about manual discovery of a single device. And before that, if you want to see a recorded version of how the discovery works and on a live manner as we have seen right now, you can visit the training video which is at the bottom of the presentation slide, which helps you understand in a much more or a detailed manner on how the various discoveries work in terms of Op Manager and when we perform it. And as we have seen, the quick discovery option is going to help you add one device at a time in a faster discovery option. Let's say you have already performed a bulk discovery and you've forgotten to add a particular device during that discovery, and it's a brand new device which came into your environment today, and you don't want to wait till the next schedule to happen and add that device to the Op Manager. So in those cases, a quick discovery is going to be the ideal option for you, which is available inside Op Manager. So all you have to do is you have to go to the Op Manager, go to Discovery, Add Device, just enter the IP address or the DNS name of the device or the name of the system name of the device, choose the credential and click on Add. So as simple as that. So once you add the device, automatically Op Manager is going to shows those devices within the Op Manager with the detailed information. Let's say I have already added a device and how it's going to look when I add a device to the Op Manager. So as soon as you add a device or you perform a bulk discovery, you will be able to see various different information starting from in the device snapshot page where you can see the interfaces which were discovered, the monitors which were added based on the type of the device which I am monitoring, based on the protocols which I'm selecting during the discovery. So this is how Op Manager is going to show you various different informations once you add the device to the Op Manager in a much detailed fashion. So now let's go back to the presentation and continue. The next topic which we are going to see is about agent deployment and agent-based monitoring. So in real-time monitoring, when we don't want to use any credentials, we have an option, a brand new feature which in Op Manager, where all you have to do is just deploy the Op Manager agent on the respective device and then OpManager will automatically start monitoring this device via the agent which is installed on the end device pretty easily. So there are no credentials required, there are no protocols which are needed. All you have to do is just deploy that agent on that respective server, and then the product will start monitoring them in detail, and this is going to happen in real time. So now let's see the various advantages and the features which are there in terms of agent based monitoring and how the deployment works. Here the op manager's agent is pretty lightweighted, where it's less than 1 MB, where within a single click you can install them, and also it works on a secured connection. So you need to enable HTTPS on op manager to use agent based monitoring and deploy agents on your end devices, and this can be easily installed from the op manager or from your active directory for multiple devices, and this consumes minimal CPU usage, which is less than 1%, which we have tested in our live environments. And also this is a real-time monitoring where even a simple restart of the server will be notified to you, and even if there's a small change in your environment, the op manager is immediately going to notify you based on the agent based monitoring which is happening using the op manager. And here you would not require any protocol such as SNMP or WMI credentials which are needed, and also the only a mandatory prerequisite or the limitation is that the agent based monitoring as of now can be used only for the Windows servers. And now let me take you to the product and show you the various options which are available in terms of deploying their agents. So here, as we have seen in the presentation slide, we can deploy the agents manually or on bulk methods as well. For example, if I want to manually install the agents, all I have to do is just download this agent on the respective server and install it. Or let's say I want to push it on bulk using my Active Directory credentials. Yes, you can do that. It's pretty easy. All you have to do is you have to enter the device name, provide the respective admin credentials, and deploy them. So from the product, it's going to push the agent to the respective device, install it, and then start monitoring it. Pretty easy and straightforward. And also you can deploy these agents on bulk using your Active Directory through a bulk group policy, or you can even push it from your respective servers accordingly. And these bulk options are also available in terms of deploying the agents on your end devices pretty easily. And as I have just told you, this agent based monitoring is applicable only for Windows servers which are there in your environment. And moving forward, we would be also be able to deploy these agents on network devices as well, which is there in the roadmap, which is going to be available in the future for our use as well. So now let's go back to the presentation and continue. And here the data which is stored inside the agent is going to happen for an hour. Let's take a worst case scenario. The op manager server itself is down. So in those cases, what will happen to the device monitoring? The agent will still be monitoring, and this is one of the major advantage of the agent based monitoring for the Windows server, where even if the op manager is down, the agent is still going to monitor that server, and it's going to store the data for the next 1 hour. So you will not have any blind areas or gray areas on monitoring your servers, because the agent is going to be there on the server and collect the data and is going to notify us if something goes wrong on those servers. So these are the major advantages of using an agent based monitoring and the various options on deploying the agents from the op manager to monitor your Windows servers. So this is the right time to start monitoring your Windows servers using agent from the op manager side. And now we are going to jump to the interface discovery. So now we have added our inventory with all the devices in our environment. So the next thing which comes into our mind is the interface or link based monitoring. In op manager, we have a dedicated discovery option for interface based discovery, which is going to add the interfaces based on specific criteria instead of importing them on bulk. And also, one important prerequisite which you have to remember is that the interface discovery and monitoring in Op Manager happens only through the protocol SNMP. So if you want to monitor your interfaces in Op Manager, you need SNMP credential to be enabled on the end device, and you need to supply the same for the Op Manager for adding and monitoring the interfaces. For example, I have already added my devices to the op manager and it's ready and already monitoring my performance metrics. And now I want to start monitoring the interfaces which are there, the links which are there inside these devices. So in that case, we are going to perform a custom type of discovery where I am going to do a discovery based on, I want to add the interfaces from my Cisco routers. So the next thing which I'm going to do is I'm going to choose the category contains as router, so that all my Cisco routers which are there is going to get added pretty easily. And next, I don't want to monitor all the interfaces which are there in the routers. I want to monitor specific interfaces. So in that scenario, I can choose this. I'm going to add and I want to monitor only the Ethernet interfaces which are there in my Cisco routers. And then also the admin status of that should be in an active status. So only if the interfaces. So through this, I can customize what I want to monitor instead of monitoring each and every interface or link which is there in my end devices. So it makes my life easier. So I've given a custom, a specialized discovery option with the desired filters. So here only if it's a Cisco router and if the interface is an Ethernet and if its admin state is up, I would discover the interfaces and add them to the monitoring. So this is how Op Manager gives you the flexibility on monitoring the interfaces on bulk for the exact and the required criterias which you have to monitor these interfaces instead of monitoring each and every interface which is there in your environment. Okay, let's go back to the presentation. And also, if you have any questions during the course of the webinar, please do raise it in the chat channel so that we can answer them and also discuss these questions in the end of the webinar in the question and answer session. So let's continue with the presentation. And now we are going to see about virtualization discovery options which are there within Op Manager. In Op Manager, we do have a dedicated discovery process for virtual network that supports VMware, Hyper-V, Xen, and Nutanix HCI infrastructures which are there in your environment. And also, upon discovering the vCenter, the other entities such as host and VMs will automatically be fetched and we'll start monitoring them. And we support both vCenter and host-based discovery. So now let me take you to the Op Manager and show you the various discovery options which are available in terms of virtualization. So as we have seen in the presentation, we can add our vCenter directly with the VMware credential and also use subsequent protocols such as SNMP and WMI based on our required needs and do a bulk discovery. And likewise, you can do the discovery based on ESX or based on Hyper-V or even Xen servers or also Nutanix servers as well. So as soon as you add your virtual environment via a vCenter discovery, automatically Op Manager is going to show you the detailed picture of your virtual environment with the hosts which are there inside your vCenter along with the virtual machines and the data stores which are associated to the vCenter pretty directly and easily. So these are the various options in terms of virtual discovery and how Op Manager maps these automatically and shows the desired information in a much easier fashion. So the next discovery option which we are going to see is about storage devices. So we will have storage devices in our environment which we need to monitor using Op Manager. So in Op Manager, the storage based discovery and monitoring is done through an add-on which is called as storage monitoring, where the storage monitoring is licensed based on the number of disk which you want to manage in the respective storage devices. Here Op Manager supports a multi-vendor storage monitoring capability where you can monitor your RAID storage, tape library and FC switches from various different vendors such as Dell, HP and Huawei and etc. And these devices can be monitored via SNMP, CLI, SMI and API credentials. So now let me take you to the product and show you the various options which are available in terms of discovering storage devices. So when we talk about storage devices, all you have to do is you have to choose the respective type which you want to add, choose the model of the device, enter the IP address, choose the credential, test if the connection works, if the protocol which you're using is appropriate, and then click on discover. So the method of adding a storage device is as simple as we are deploying a simple agent, or we are adding a Windows server to the op manager. And in case if a particular model of a storage device is not supported, if you want to raise a request for our team, it's pretty easy. All you have to do is just click on this hyperlink, enter the device model, and within a few weeks you'll be able to get the official support for the respective storage monitoring depending on the request which we get from all the other devices. And also, if you want to see all the supported devices for the storage monitoring, you can visit the help document, which is called as help.opmanager.com, to see all the supported storage devices in our current version, and then take it forward accordingly. And as soon as you add your storage devices, this is how the information will be available once you add your storage devices. Let's say I have already added few of my devices inside of manager, so I'm going to manage them so that you can see a live interaction on how these storage devices are going to show the data once you have discovered them. So I have added my EMC Unity storage device using an CLI credential, and these are the various informations which are going to available when I add this particular storage device. So these are vital and critical informations in terms of storage monitoring for the respective disks which are there in my environment. And this helps me understand if I need to have more storage space in my environment, or if I am over resourced for the respective environment or the disk space which are available within my environment. So this helps me understand and have a better resource management for the storage capacity of my entire environment. So now let's go back to the presentation and continue. So the next topic which we are going to see is about Nutanix Discovery. So in OpManager, you can discover your Nutanix cluster with all the entities such as host, VMs, storage devices, which will automatically be discovered. And also you can view a Nutanix virtual map to see how the discovery has happened. And you have a dedicated report with summary, inventory, and latency. And if you want to know more about the Nutanix based discovery, you can visit the link which is given at the bottom of the presentation slide. So now let me quickly take you to the op manager and show you the various options which are available when you add your Nutanix server to the product. So as soon as you add your Nutanix server to the op manager, the discovery mechanisms which are available are pretty simple and straightforward. So all you have to do is you have to give an IP address or the DNS name of your Nutanix cluster, choose the respective Nutanix credential, and then click on discover. So once you discover your Nutanix cluster, all the hosts and the VMs which are under them will be easily discovered and viewed pretty easily and in a straightforward manner. Let's see. Once we are able to see much more information about the Nutanix server. So now let's go back to the presentation and continue. And for the Nutanix-based discovery, we would be using Prism API framework to fetch the performance matrices from the Nutanix cluster. And now we're going to see the next topic which we are going to see is about layer 2 discovery. The layer 2, when we talk about layer 2 discovery, the various options which are available in terms of layer 2 discovery are as follows. As you can see, we would be having our core router in our environment. So OpManager gives you an automated discovery methodology, which is going to give you the entire topology and the device discovery in a much easier and a faster manner. So here, all you have to do is you can enter the seed or core router details, and you can discover your entire network with just one click. And also, you can set the device dependencies automatically using the layer 2 discovery instead of doing them manually. And also, you can configure a schedule interval to update these devices from your network in a much easier and a detailed fashion. And you'll be having an option to export these discovered topology of your core router via layer 2 discovery through a Microsoft Visio diagram. And for more information on how to export it as a Visio diagram, you can visit the link which is given at the bottom of the presentation slide. So now let's go back to the Op Manager and see the various options which are available in terms of layer 2 discovery. So as we have seen, the layer 2 discovery works based on the seed router and the respective responses via the discovery mechanism. So all you have to do is you have to enter the core router's IP address, choose and schedule interval. And once you have that given IP range in which the discovery has to happen, if you want to set the device dependency, configure them, choose the desired credentials, choose the discovery mechanism. Let's say my environment is majoritarily a Cisco based environment. So in those cases, the discovery has to happen based on CDP and LLDP. Or you can also customize the discovery mechanism on how the topology is drawn for these devices pretty easily. So once you have selected these informations, you can automatically view the layer 2 map much easily with the detailed information about the devices and the layer 2 informations which are available for your respective devices. So these are the various options which are available in terms of layer 2 discovery within Op Manager. So the process is pretty easy and straightforward. So all you have to do is enter your core router's IP address, give an IP range, choose the credentials, and you're done. So this is how you can see your entire topology of your network in a much detailed fashion through the layer 2 discovery from the Op Manager. So now let's go back to the presentation and continue. The next topic which we are going to see is about wireless LAN discovery. The wireless LAN discovery, we will have WLCs in our environment, and Op Manager provides you an easier way of adding your WLCs to the Op Manager in a much easier fashion. We have an exclusive support for monitoring your wireless LAN controller with in-depth visibility of your WLC and its associated services such as identifiers, the SSIDs, and the access points which are there in your environment. So now let's go back to the Op Manager and see how the discovery works in terms of WLCs. So when we talk about the wireless LAN controllers, the discovery is as simple as we add a device to the Op Manager. So all you have to do is you have to enter the IP address of your wireless LAN controller, choose the model of it, if it's going to be Aruba, or if it's going to be a Cisco controller, choose it as Cisco controller, then choose the respective credential which is going to work. And once you have added you have chosen the desired information, all you have to do is just click on add device. So once you do that, Op Manager will automatically contact your wireless LAN controller, get all the SSIDs, rogue SSIDs, customers, clients, and give you a detailed information about your entire infrastructure. So now let's go back to the presentation and continue. The next topic, a brand new feature which is available in terms of adding and monitoring your Meraki devices in your environment. So in Op Manager, the Meraki environment, the Meraki wireless controllers can be monitored via the API from the respective vendor itself. And each organization and networks can be monitored and listed pretty easily. And also, you can easily monitor all the desired important metrics such as Meraki's security or Meraki radio, Meraki switches, or Meraki cellular gateways, which is otherwise called as MG, and the Meraki vision, which are there in your Cisco Meraki environment. And then you can get to know about the rogue SSIDs, clients, and the access point usage which are there in your environment in a much detail and a clear fashion. So now let's go back to the Op Manager and see the various options which are available in terms of Meraki. So here, if you want to add your Meraki, all you have to do is you have to get the API key from your Meraki controller and then enter it here and click on fetch organization. And once you do that, you'll be able to see the respective organizations and then click on discover. So this is how you can easily add your Meraki controller and then view the informations about your entire Meraki information. So for example, I have already added one of my Meraki controller with the respective details. So as you can see, this Meraki controller is discovered based on one particular organization. So once I have added my Meraki controller, automatically the detailed information about my Meraki devices such as security, switch or radios are listed pretty easily. I can manage them or monitor them according to my wish. And likewise, the networks which are available in this organization will also be listed with the detailed information along with the rogue access points and the clients which are there in the respective organizations, which and how much is their usage. So this gives me a detailed picture about my Meraki controller and the devices which are under this particular environment. And here each device is considered and licensed based on the number of devices which you want to manage under the Meraki controller. So now let's go back to the presentation and continue. The next topic which we are going to see is about adding IPMI in the Op Manager. So when we talk about IPMI monitoring, this is an intelligent platform management interface where you can independently monitor the server's CPU, operating system, and the power status. You can monitor the system's temperature, fan speed, power, voltage, and etc. You can also shut down and start the server from a remote location. And in Op Manager, we support Dell HydraC, HP ILO, and IBM IMMI devices in your environment. And this is a brand new feature which is available where you can monitor your IPMI devices in your environment. So when we talk about the discovery options for the IPMI devices are as follows. So here all you have to do is you have to choose the vendor of your IPMI device, enter the device IP address, choose the credential, and for this you need the IPMI protocol based credential. You have to enter those details, choose it, and perform the discovery. So once you add your IPMI device to the Op Manager based on the vendor, you'll be able to do all the desired actions which we have discussed in the presentation slide. Moving on to the next topic, the next important and a brand new topic which we're going to see in terms of discovering and monitoring is called as adding and monitoring the Cisco ACI environment and ACI devices in your environment. And here the Cisco ACI is monitored based on the API which is available here. We can monitor the SDN environment and also monitor the Cisco ACI devices with all its associated components along with the APIC controller, the fabric switches such as spine, super spine, and leaf, the tenants, the endpoints, and each and other every equipment which are there in terms of Cisco ACI. So now, when we talk about the discovery options, it's as simple. You have to give the IP address, choose the credential, and click on add. So once you add your Cisco ACI devices, you can easily see how the informations are available. So here I've added one of my Cisco ACI as an example, which is going to give you the detailed information how the informations can be fetched and viewed when you add your Cisco ACI devices inside of Manager. So now let's go back to the presentation and continue. And now we are jumping into the topic which is called as groups. So in Op Manager, we give you a dedicated grouping facility which allows us to manage, create custom groups based on our custom requirements where we can group the devices according to our wish and then associate them to the respective users and view the reports and the data accordingly. Here in OpManager, you can group the devices or interfaces based on sites or departments and etc. You can push configurations to a group to set device downtime, configure thresholds for interfaces, or fetch group-based reports and more. And also, the threshold-based setting configuration for custom groups can also be configured. And if you want to know more about the grouping feature, you can visit the link which is given at the bottom of the presentation slide, which is a video representation of the grouping features and how the groupings can be done within Op Manager. So now let me show you an example on how you can create a group within Op Manager and how this helps us understand the various options which are there within yeah, in our environment and within Op Manager as well. Let's say I am a banking network and I have banks which are there in different sites, and I want to have a group which has been created based on sites and my department. So here I have created a custom group for my bank side too, which is based on interfaces. So all my interfaces which are there in the bank side too is listed over here. And likewise, let's say I want to create a group for my bank servers. It's pretty easy. I have already created an example for you, and also let me create one so that we will have a live example on how the groups can be created. So I am going to create a group for my branch servers in site 3. So I've given a name for my group. Then I have to choose the criteria. So here I am going to group them based on devices and then give a criteria. So here the category has to be a server, and then the vendor should be Microsoft. And along with, I can also choose IP address, start and end, parent or serial number, model. Based on different types, I can choose the filter and then click on next. All the respective devices which are matching my criteria will be listed. And if I save it, then automatically the devices and its grouping will be done, and I'll be able to see all the information about this particular group. And using this group, I can push thresholds, I can take custom reports, I can assign it to specific designated tasks and perform the actions which are required within Op Manager to meet my requirements. So now let's go back to the presentation and continue. The next topic which we are going to see is about making our discovery in a smart fashion. So within Op Manager, what are the various features which are interesting, which makes things easier and makes the discovery in a much smarter manner? So in Op Manager, we have a discovery filter option, which is called as add or ignore device filter, which where you can specify the criterias based on IP address, IP range, category or device type or device name, which saves time and licensing in your scenario. So now let me show you an easier example. So let's go to let's go to an IP range based discovery, and over here when we click on ignore devices, so this ignore device is especially used, or add device is used when we want to add or ignore specific devices. Let's say I don't want to add any devices which is a desktop. I don't want to monitor any desktops in my environment. So in those cases, all I have to do is I have to choose ignore devices, and in this IP range, if any desktop is detected, Op Manager will not add them or monitor them. So this saves a lot of time. Instead of ignoring them or unmanaging them during the discovery itself, I could ignore them and save lots of time and start monitoring the required information in a detailed fashion. So let's go back to the presentation and continue. And the next smart discovery feature which is available within Op Manager is called as the discovery rule engine. So in simpler notes, the discovery rule engine is going to save lots of time in automating the task which you perform after the discovery, like adding monitors, setting thresholds, or putting it in a business view or associating it to a notification profile. So like these tasks can be easily automated using the discovery rule engine. So let's take a live example and understand how the discovery rule engine is going to help us. So here I want to discover all my Windows. When I discover a Windows 2012 R2 server with an IP address starting with 192.168.1, I want to start and associate a URL monitor to those devices. And also, I want to associate this particular devices to a notification profile and to send an email to my administrator who is called as James. And third task which I want to do in the discovery itself, I want to associate these devices to a business view which is called as HO servers. And also I want to associate a Windows event log service monitor to these servers. So now let's see how this can be achieved when we perform a discovery via discovery rule engine. So when we talk about the discovery rule engines, I've already created few examples which meets our exact requirement. So when we talk about the required needs, so in case if the IP address starts with 192.168.1 and if it's a Windows 2012 R2 devices, I want to add it to a business view and then associate a Windows credentials and then associate it to a Windows event, and I want to do put it to a notification profile as well. Let's associate it to a notification profile. Choose the notification profile, add them, and I also want to put it to a different business view called as HO server. So I can do multiple tasks during the discovery itself. So whenever Op Manager performs a discovery and if it sees these criteria is matching, and automatically Op Manager will perform these actions so that it makes things easier for you. So this is an automated fashion, and if this status is enabled during the network discovery, automatically the Op Manager will check the rule engine and add those devices and perform the actions according to the criteria if it's matching. And likewise, in case if you want to run these rule engines immediately, you can very well do them and associate them to the respective devices and perform the actions and associate the monitors which you want to do. So now let's go back to the presentation and continue. And now we are going to jump into the question and answer session. So moving on with the first question. What is the system requirement to install Op Manager in my environment? The system requirement or the prerequisites is as follows. You can deploy the Op Manager either in a physical or a virtual server with a minimum of 4 GB of RAM with 20 GB of hard disk. And Op Manager can be deployed on both environments such as Windows or Linux servers. And Op Manager can be installed with the database which is called as PG SQL, which comes in bundled with the product, and also the Microsoft SQL. And if you want to know more about the prerequisites or the hardware and software requirements, you can visit the link which is given at the bottom of the presentation slide. Moving on to the next question. I am an evaluator and I need help in choosing the right edition which you have. In Op Manager, we have three major editions which are available within the product. One is the standard edition, which does the basic monitoring for the devices in your environment. And the second is the professional edition, which monitors your entire environment with all the add-ons and with all the features. And next is the enterprise edition or the distributed architecture, where you'll have a central and multiple probe locations where you can monitor n number of devices which are there in your environment. The professional is for a smaller environment where you want one installation to monitor your entire organization, and the enterprise is distributed for larger environments where you have distributed sites on various countries and various departments. So in those cases, you can go ahead with the enterprise edition, else you can choose the professional edition. And if you want to know more about the features which are available in all these editions, you can visit the link which is given at the bottom of the presentation slide. Let's go move on to the next question. Can agent-based monitoring notify us when a server is rebooted? Yes, the agent-based monitoring is a real-time monitoring and it will notify you when a server is rebooted. Moving on to the next question. Can I re-add an ignore device again? Yes, you can do that. To to perform or re-add a device which is already ignored, the first step what you have to do is you have to come to the op manager, and under the ignored device list, you have to select that device which you want to add and start monitoring it and remove it from the ignored device. So once you do that, you can now go ahead to the discovery and add them and start monitoring them as usual. Let's go back to the question and answer session and continue. The next question. What are the various supported device models in storage monitoring? In OpManager, we support various different storages starting from HP and Loon devices, RAID storage tape libraries, and other devices. And all these supported devices and its exact models are listed in our help document, which is help.opmanager.com, where you can view all the supported models for the storage devices. Moving on to the next question, tell me more about discovery settings. So now, to answer this question, let me take you to the product and show you what are the various discovery settings and discovery options which are there. So in terms of discovery settings, you can add the devices directly to the add-ons as NCM and IPAM. You can discover them based on traps. You can see the notification if the discovery is happening. You can make the interface discovery in an automated fashion, or you can disable them. You can discover the devices on the add-ons to the op manager. These are the various discovery options, discovery settings which are there for the discovery mechanism which are there inside op manager. Let's go back to the question and answer session and continue. Moving on to the next question. Where can I see the newly added feature? So within Op Manager, on your top right hand side, you can see a gift icon. So once you click on that icon, you can immediately see the brand new features which are available in your installations, or if you're an existing customer and if you perform an upgrade, you want to see what are the new features in my brand new upgraded setup, this gift icon is going to give you all those details. And I would welcome you to the next part of the Op Manager training series, which will be conducted on June 22nd, where we'll be discussing in depth about network monitoring in Op Manager, about device availability, server, network, and virtual performance metrics, WLC and IPSLA monitoring, and script-based monitoring as well. And I'm looking forward to meet you in the part 2 of this season's Op Manager training series. And if you want to get certified as an Op Manager Pro, this is the right time. Register yourself in the link which is given in the presentation slide, attend the examination, and become an Op Manager Certified Pro, which would help you monitor your environment in a detailed fashion using Op Manager and also have a better career development in your site. And we would be uploading all our how to do and training videos in our YouTube channel, and you can visit our help document at help.opmanager.com, and we will be having our technical discussion in our forum for our customers and our resellers and partners. And if you want to get in touch with our team, you can drop an email directly to opmanager-support@manageengine.com or dial in directly and reach us. And we also have a chat support which is available within the UI itself. You can reach our technical team through the chat support as well. I thank one and all for attending this part 1 of the Op Manager training series, and I'm looking forward to meet you in the part 2, which is conducted next week on June 22nd. Thank you.